So the WHO just dropped its latest global TB report, and for India, well, it's a complicated picture. We're talking about some incredible wins for sure, but also a huge flashing reminder that the fight is far, far from over.
You know, a recent editorial put it perfectly with this phrase, and it just nails the feeling, right? It captures this intense pressure, this feeling that India is putting in a massive effort, but the stakes are so high that anything less than a home run feels like a miss. Okay, so what's actually in this report? Well, think of it as a real mixed bag. It's a story of two Indias, really. We've got some amazing achievements to talk about, some real reasons to be optimistic. But then there's the other side, and the sheer size of the problem is just staggering. Let's dig into both sides of this coin. All right, let's kick things off with the good news. And we have to start here, because what India has managed to do has genuinely saved lives. We're not just talking about stats on a page, we're talking about millions of people, actual human beings, who are alive today because of these efforts. Get this, between 2015 and 2024, India saw a 21% drop in new TB cases. Now that might just sound like a number, but here's the kicker. That's the single highest decline anywhere on the planet during that time. It's proof positive that the strategies being used are actually working and making a real dent.
And you can really see that progress when you look at the human cost. The death rate fell from 28 per 100,000 people down to 21. Now I know that doesn't sound like a massive jump, but when you apply that to a country the size of India, you're literally talking about millions of lives saved. That is a monumental win, no question about it.
So you're probably asking, how'd they pull this off? Well, it was no accident. India's TB program has been seriously leaning into innovation. We're talking about using advanced molecular diagnostics, even AI, to catch cases faster. They've also put a huge focus on nutrition, which is critical. Plus, they've been introducing newer, better therapies and custom schemes for those tough, drug-resistant cases. It shows they're not just sticking to the old playbook, they're adapting.
Okay, so that's the good news, and it's really, really good news. But we have to turn the page now and look at the other side of this report. And this is where things get a lot more sobering. This is where you see just how much is left to do.
Here's the paradox. Even with that world-leading drop in new cases, India is still home to 25% of the world's total TB burden. Let that sink in. 1 out of every 4 people with TB on this planet is in India. That one fact, it just casts a huge shadow over all that incredible progress, doesn't it?
And that brings us to a tough pill to swallow. See, India set this incredibly bold goal for itself: eliminate TB by 2025. That was 5 whole years ahead of the global target. The ambition was amazing, you have to give them that. But the reality is that target has been missed.
Now, this is where things get even trickier. We need to talk about drug resistance, specifically multi-drug resistant TB, or MDR-TB. This is the nasty stuff, the strains that just laugh off the standard drugs. And look at this. India is dealing with nearly a third of all MDR-TB cases in the entire world. It's like a whole separate, much harder battle happening inside the main one. So why is this MDR-TB so dangerous? Well, it all boils down to how well we can treat it. With standard TB, the treatment success rate is pretty good, up around 90%. But for these resistant superbugs, that success rate plummets to 77%. That gap is huge because it means more sick people for longer, which gives these really dangerous strains more chances to spread. And this problem isn't the same everywhere across the country. Oh no, it's really concentrated in what you could call hotspots. So you've got states like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, and Madhya Pradesh with just huge numbers of cases. And then you have a place like Delhi, a massive, dense city, which has the highest infection rate in the whole country. All right, so we've seen the wins, and we've seen the really big challenges that are still on the table. The big question has to be, why? With all this effort, why is TB still such a stubborn, persistent problem?
Yeah, let's just put it out there. What's really holding things back? What are the cracks in the system that are keeping India from finally landing that final, decisive blow against tuberculosis?
Well, it seems to come down to 4 really fundamental problems. First, there are big gaps in diagnosis, especially out in rural areas. People just aren't getting tested soon enough. Second, you can't ignore the socioeconomic side of this. TB preys on poverty. Third, you've got drug shortages, a huge issue that can interrupt treatment and actually create more drug resistance. And finally, there's malnutrition. It's a massive driver, weakening people's immune systems and making them way more susceptible to getting sick in the first place. Okay, so knowing the problems is one thing, but what do we do about them? Let's shift gears and talk about the solutions. What's the actual path forward to plug these gaps and get that elimination goal back in sight? It really looks like a 5-point action plan is needed here, hitting each of those problems head on. 1. Boost diagnostics in rural areas with things like mobile testing units. 2. Make nutritional support a standard part of TB care, not an afterthought. 3. Fix the drug supply chain, maybe with a digital system to stop those stockouts. 4. Get laser-focused on the hotspot states like UP with targeted plans. And 5. Tackle the money problem. Expand financial support so patients aren't choosing between treatment and feeding their families. Honestly, you have to do all 5. It's not an a la carte menu.
So that brings us right back to where we started, with that swing and miss idea. India has taken a massive, powerful swing at TB, and it's absolutely saved millions of lives. But it wasn't a clean hit. The job's not done. The big question hanging in the air is, can the country find that renewed focus, fix these critical problems, and make the next swing the one that finally connects and knocks this disease out for good?